Welcome to the Pen Leader Podcast, where strategic leaders get straight to the topics, strengthening our awareness and sharpening our minds. The Pen Leader Podcast is produced by Roar, a production division of Mays & Associates Ltd. Find out more at www.maysassociatesltd.com. Now here is your award-winning host, Dr. Shanda Gore.
And welcome to the Pen Leader Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about leading beyond retirement. And I'm so glad to have with me today Mr. Justin Moor, who's the president and CEO of the Area Office on Aging of Northwest Ohio. He brings more than 20 years of experience with the Area Office on Aging. He's a 20 under 40 Leadership Awardee. He leads a group of 25 individuals who are really holding down so much work with the Area Office on Aging. He has a Bachelor's of Arts in Rhetoric and Communications from Mount St. Mary's College, and he has a Master of Public Administration from Cleveland State University. He's done so much. He's been on boards within Grady Services and has also served as a board member for the Toledo Club Toastmasters. So he's a wide variety of different experiences. And I can't wait to get him to talk about what it means to lead beyond retirement. Welcome, Justin.
Thank you, Dr. Gore. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So let's get right into it and talk to me a little bit about that role with the Area Office on Aging as a leader within the organization.
I'm honored to be able to lead an organization that I love deeply. It's an organization that is making a great impact in the lives of individuals age 60 and better, their family caregivers, and younger persons with disabilities. We're all about helping individuals with living better and longer. Grateful to have 210 other individuals in our organization that are working toward that mission along with me, as well as a provider network of 190 different organizations that are also providing really valuable services toward that same goal.
Yeah, I was looking at that when I saw that team of 25. I knew that was a lot more than that. And basically what you're doing is you're bringing a lot of resources into one place to make sure that seniors are served as much as possible at the highest level quality of service. Am I right?
That's right. So it's all whatever people need that are age 60 and better, whether it be help with home care or meals or adult daycare, socialization, exercise programs, whatever it is, we really work to make sure that people have a one-stop shop where they can get connected with all those different programs, services, information, events that really help set them up for success and living better and longer.
And I was just thinking about that too, because for those that are saying, hey, I'm 60 and over, and I'm not looking at really retirement the way I thought I was going to be looking at retirement. I really want to continue to work. Can you talk about the workforce and what that looks like for those that are over 60?
So for those age 60 and better, there's been a growing trend for more and more individuals to still be in the workforce after they are at that age of being 60 plus. So about 10 years ago, it was 24% of individuals age 60 and better were in the workforce. Now it's 27%. And there's 1% of that population, 1% of the 60 plus population that is listed as being unemployed. And then the rest of the individuals in that age group are listed as being not looking for work. I actually don't believe those last two numbers. I actually think that the number of people who are unemployed is much larger than 1%. And I also think that the individuals that are not looking for work is much smaller than that. And I think it's really because of two reasons. One is that 50% of individuals age 60 and better have been forced out of long-time jobs, and 90% of them never find a job where they are able to earn as much again. And then the second is that 75% of individuals age 60 and better believe that age discrimination is a barrier to getting a job. So it's not just that 50% that face that workforce trauma of being forced out of a long-time job and not being able to find one that pays the same again. They share that information with their friends or family members and the like, and it starts to shift the perspective of those friends and family members to believe that age discrimination is a barrier to getting a job. So that's why 75% of people age 16 plus are really viewing age discrimination as a barrier to getting a job. And I believe throwing in the towel on looking for employment, even though they need employment or they want employment, but they just feel like they're beating their head against the wall trying to find a job and facing age discrimination after age discrimination.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like there's two things going on there. One might be a perception of age discrimination, and the other one is it could be there. We don't know, right? And that's a hard it's a hard way to tell. People have a feeling they might be discriminated against, but they're not too sure. There's also this other side of it where entrepreneurs and business owners that I know that we work with that are we're working with coaching, they desperately need workers, and they say, if you could find me someone who's reliable that comes in and sometimes they even throw in work ethic, which is interesting because of the perception. But what do you tell those leaders of, they could be large firms or small organizations that are looking for workforce?
I'd say that the solution to your workforce problems is right underneath your nose with the age 60 and better population. That is right in your community, wherever you're headquartered at. I'm reminded of how pervasive this belief is about older workers not being a solution to the workforce needs of our community. I'm reminded of a now U.S. Senator who fairly recently was talking about two things in a disconnected way. He talked about how as he's trying to get more and more businesses to invest in the state that he's representing, he's encountering workforce as the biggest barrier to getting them to invest in that state. And then he went on to talk about how they're spending, as you look at the population of that state in 5-year age groups, the largest segment of the population are those that are age 60 to 64. And then he went on to talk about how he's really trying to focus on getting 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds that have some roots in that state to move back to the state, completely missing out on the opportunity that exists right within that state with the 60 to 64 age group that is largely underemployed or not employed, but wants to be employed as being a solution to those workforce issues that not only current employers in that state want, but also employers who are potentially looking to invest in that state also want.
That is definitely a missed opportunity. I think back on having conversations within my own family. At one point, it was a discussion point of like, well, you really don't want to talk about your age too much because it'll be held against you. And unfortunately, that was perceived that, again, it's younger people that can do the better job. Now that we have workforce shortages, like maybe never seen before, I'm not sure, but it seems like it seems like everybody's talking about it. This focus, if I have jobs that are open and I needed someone, where would you suggest I go to find this workforce?
So I think there's many different places to go, but a lot of times it's within your organization. I'm a big believer in employee referral kind of bonus programs, right? I think in many ways, the people who work in your organization are the ones that are the best potential evangelists, if you will, about spreading the good news about the work that your organization is doing, and can speak deeply about what the culture is like there in a way that makes sure that the individuals who are coming to the organization as candidates are a good cultural fit for the organization. So I think in many ways, there's people that are probably working in your organization right now that know of a aging loved one, whether it be a friend, a family member, somebody you go to church with, a neighbor, or whatever the case might be, that might be looking for work and might be age 60 and better. I also think there's lots of different job boards. AERP does a lot of work in this space, and others that have job boards that really attract a lot of individuals that are age 60 and better that are looking for employment. So I think in many ways also we need to be thinking about the way that we're advertising our jobs. So there's a saying that says something along the lines of old age is 15 years older than I am, right? That's this moving target as we go through life. And I think that if we crawl in the mind of somebody that's age 60 and better, what that means is that they actually view themselves as looking 15 years younger than they actually are. So sometimes when we're advertising jobs or trying to get the attention of a certain segment of the population, it's important for us to think about that. What images are we using to supplement our job advertisements? And are they communicating to the individual that we're looking to attract, hey, this is a age-friendly place to work, right? This is not a place where you're going to face age discrimination. We're being intentional about the images we're using in our job advertisements, because these are the types of individuals we want to make sure they know that this is a safe place to work, that this is a place that celebrates their age. They don't need to feel like they have to be closeted about their age or a decade or two of their life. We want to leverage that experience that they're bringing to the table. We want to honor how they are great workers, individuals. What we hear from many employers and what we experience at our office is that some of our best workers are individuals that are age 60 and better. There's a lot of individuals who are not only showing up on a regular basis on time, are dependable, and the like. There are individuals that have tremendous work ethics oftentimes. They're also oftentimes individuals who are more than willing to serve as an informal mentor or a formal mentor for younger individuals in the workforce to teach them about the importance of punctuality, about showing up, looking professional, about communicating in a professional way, so on and so forth. There's a lot of beautiful things that we see happen with this multi-generational workforce that we're living with right now, in a way where individuals with different generations are teaching one another and really helping individuals with their professional development in a very informal way.
I think you just said something there about possibly mentoring too, right? Is that what I'm
Correct.
hearing? So, how would you encourage mentoring without putting anybody in an uncomfortable position? Because sometimes, there could be generations saying, "I don't want someone to tell me, what to do." But what you're saying is that from a mentoring side, how you could tap in. What suggestions would you make to leaders on how to tap into the workforce that's more mature in those roles to help mentor the younger generation?
I think that there's some individuals that are looking for an encore career, and they've retired from their job, or they have been one of those individuals that have forced out a long time job because of age discrimination, and they are maybe have different goal in mind for their career at that point in time, right? Maybe they're not looking to climb that corporate ladder in as aggressive a way as they were before. And I think those are individuals who are more likely to take somebody who is younger and to be able to talk to them about a way and create an environment, a safe environment for that individual to be somewhat vulnerable about some of the challenges they're facing in their career, knowing that that older adult that's mentoring them is not going to use that against them, right, as a fellow competitor trying to climb that corporate ladder, but in a way that is really boosting that younger individual up to help them and getting that next rung on the career ladder.
That goes right to a point that I typically make is when I do executive coaching, I talk about having a board of directors of individuals who can help guide you, and going to individuals that are in that level, have been where you're trying to go, and can have that conversation. And then it's not too hard to interpret if someone's really trying to help you or if they're trying to hinder you. And I was thinking about this, what advice would you give to someone who's within 5 to 7 years of that retirement? They can see it and they're not sure they want to retire. They're maybe on the bubble, but what advice would you give them if they want to start a second career, a second part, a different season of their life?
I think to do some introspection of what they feel like they're most passionate about. There might be elements of what they're most passionate about and what they're doing currently, but it might be something completely different. And I think that oftentimes people feel in our culture get really tied up into what they do is who they are. So for some individuals, they get their identity trapped into, I'm a carpenter, or I'm a HR professional, or whatever the case might be. And I think one of the things that gets really scary for some individuals that are getting closer to that time frame where they're ready to be done with whatever that is and potentially moving on to something else, it's a little bit of an identity crisis. If I am not doing this, what I'm doing now, then who am I? So for them individuals to really take some look inside and what it is that they're most passionate about and how that kind of lines up with what is a great need in the world or in the community today, right? I think that that's where we really find our purpose and our most impact, is when we find that intersection between what we're most passionate about and where the world's greatest need is.
What advice would you give to a leader of an organization who has a big disparity between the youngest individual and the more mature, oldest individual in the organization? What advice would you give them?
I would embrace it, not thinking of individuals as fitting in one of those two groups, but I think that there's a great desire among people in all generations to not just be in this homogenous kind of environment of just their individuals that are their peers, but they really do want to live in this kind of diverse place, whether it be at work or whether it be in their community, their neighborhood, or wherever the case might be. So I think that in many ways, employers that have those different generations all within one organization are at a real great advantage to develop those different generations into a real cohesive team, one that is playing to the strengths of the other, and one and where they're really working to try to set the other up for success. I think it's amazing when organizations work in that way, where individuals are not siloed, but instead are brought together to develop a real cohesive team. So I think looking for mentorship, mentee relationships, whether it be informal or formal. I've seen some organizations that give a little bump in pay to individuals that are willing to serve in that mentor kind of role. I think that is money extremely well spent. It not only helps with retention of those younger individuals that might otherwise be tempted to go to another job that's paying a little bit more than their current job. Those relationships and those employers who are investing from the get-go in their employees, that is very uncommon today in the workplace. I think in many ways, that's what sets employers up for success and not having workforce issues a year from now that they're facing today.
I would say too, is if you find in your culture that it doesn't do well to have the two dynamic groups, then get someone to help bring them in to help you really tap into and bring that culture together. If you don't have the skill set, seek help too, because some do or don't. I worked in organizations where there is very clear as a younger generation. There was only a few that were older, but it was this culture that seemed to, even people who applied seemed to be in a certain age groups. So I've seen it where the dynamic, and I've seen it work very well when you have both sides. And I say sides because of the range that it's a continuum, right? And what you would hope is that those that are actually coming in that are younger will stay with that group and organization. The last question I have for you is, because you're so busy and you're running such a large organization that really reaches out into so many parts of the community. And because the show is listened across, so many states and in other countries, what are you reading and what are you watching that helps you stay sharp?
So I like a mix of different faith-based reading material. So one of my favorite recent reads was a book called Drunks and Monks. I think in terms of professional development and the like, there's a podcast I'm listening to right now that PBS puts out that's really focused on older adults in the workforce. It's really interesting. And then I'm always looking for a laugh. I enjoy laughing. So I'm listening to a podcast called Fly on the Wall about Saturday Night Live with Dana Carvey. That's also really good for a good laugh.
It is. Saturday Night Live can give you a good laugh. Yeah. That's true. So that's good. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and talking about this important topic and giving some pointers to leaders out there that are trying to diversify their workforce and they need additional workforce members. I think great advice about looking within and promoting within and encouraging within, but also where to go and AARP. And, we're really happy to have Area Office on Aging in our local area, but to seek out different organizations in your area that actually cater to and focus on the population.
Right. So the generic name for our organization is Area Agency on Aging. There is an Area Agency on Aging that serves every part of the United States. There's a website called Elder Care Locator. People can go to, put in their zip code or put in their town and find out that Area Agency on Aging that's serving their part of the town. Those area agencies on aging are also great resources to reach out to try to identify local workers.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Dr. Gore.
Thank you. And thank you to our listeners who are listening to the show and sharing it. And we really appreciate your feedback at info@MaysAssociatesLTD.com. We'd also like to thank our sponsor, J. Foster Jewelers, family owned, offering the finest natural gemstones, stunning engagement rings, and brilliant diamonds. Thanks, J. Foster's. And of course, until next time.
The Pen Leader Podcast is hosted by Dr. Shanda Gore and brought to you by Mays & Associates LTD, creating customized solutions for growth in the areas of leadership development, strategic planning, and culture building. Find out more at www.MaysAssociatesLTD.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Pen Leader Podcast and share with others.